สวัสดีค่ะคุณผู้ชมค่ะขอต้อนรับเข้าสู่ Set Face to Face ทาง Set Zoom In ค่ะอยู่กับปอมชริดาพรหมโยธีนะคะวันนี้ค่ะเราจะมาพูดคุยกันนะคะถึงการเปลี่ยนแปลงของตลาดการเงินโลกค่ะโดยเฉพาะบทบาทของ Nasdaq นะคะที่ตอนนี้ต้องมีการปรับตัวตามกระแสเทคโนโลยีใหม่ๆค่ะรวมถึงเรื่องของความท้าทายด้านกฎระเบียบด้วยนะคะและยังมีพฤติกรรมของนักลงทุนด้วยค่ะที่ตอนนี้ก็มีการเปลี่ยนแปลงไปค่ะไม่ว่าจะเป็นเรื่องของการซื้อขายความเร็วสูงหรือที่เรียกว่า HFT รวมไปถึงการนำ AI เข้ามาใช้ในการเทรดด้วยนะคะหรือแนวโน้มของนักลงทุนรายย่อยนะคะในสหรัฐรวมถึงผลกระทบที่อาจจะเกิดขึ้นกับตลาดเกิดใหม่อย่างประเทศไทยค่ะโดยวันนี้นะคะปอมจะขอสัมภาษณ์เป็นภาษาอังกฤษค่ะและก็จะมีการสรุปสั้นๆให้เป็นภาษาไทยนะคะคุณผู้ชมสามารถที่จะเปิด Subtitle ได้อัตโนมัติค่ะToday, we are diving into the evolving dynamics of global financial markets, exploring how Nasdaq is adapting to technological shifts, regulatory challenges, and changing investor behavior, from high-frequency trading or HFT to AI adoption, and from retail investor trends in the US to the ripple effects on emerging markets like Thailand. We'll be discussing how innovation and collaboration are shaping the future of trading.Our guest today is Mr. Phil Mackintosh, Chief Economist from Nasdaq. สวัสดีค่ะ Thank you for joining us today, Mr. Phil.
It's great to be here.
Okay. The first question, we're going to talk about global market trends. From your perspective, what are the most challenges happening in global market structure today?
Yeah, so market structure is obviously about how the markets work. And I think there's two kind of ends of the spectrum of the challenges. One, and it's a global problem, is getting IPOs to increase. There's, I guess, more money in private equity, there's better financing in private equity, and it's cheaper to keep your company private. And so getting companies into the public markets is getting harder. At the other end of the spectrum, I think a lot of markets around the world are getting very fragmented, which makes it really hard for investors when they want to trade public markets to know where the liquidity is, what the right prices are, and to actually go and trade. So I think there's kind of two ends of the spectrum, getting more companies into the public markets, and when they're there, making it easy for investors to trade them.
The next question is about trading technology and speed. We've seen rapid advances in trading technology from high-frequency trading or HFT to 24-hour markets. How are these developments reshaping liquidity and price discovery?
Yeah, I mean, automatic trading or electronic trading has been sort of evolving in global markets since about the start of the millennium. And overall, what academics, when they've done research into the impact, have found is it makes spreads tighter, so cheaper to trade, lowers volatility, increases efficiency of markets, so one stock doesn't get rich while the others don't go up at the same time. So it actually makes markets better, cheaper, and easier to trade.
Okay, the next question is about AI in the markets. Artificial intelligence is transforming many industries, including finance. How is AI adoption changing trading strategies and market surveillance? And where do you see the biggest opportunities and risks?
Yeah, so AI is being used across the spectrum, like from picking stocks to actually working orders in the market and trading stocks, to your point, to surveillance as well. And what AI is really good at doing is finding patterns and putting context in the patterns. So say for surveillance as an example, being able to look at what trading behaviors are in the market and knowing historically what's normal and what looks like it might be something to investigate. And then when it creates the flag, it creates what we call less false positives. So the humans, when they start to investigate the trade, have a trade that's more likely something that needs investigation. What else AI is really good at doing is collecting all the information. So all those kind of boring jobs for the people that are trying to do the investigation.
Exactly.
It's like you click into the alert and it can bring context of what's normal. Maybe if the company that's at question has had any news announcements or any changes to its operations that might make the trading actually in context real. And so actually helping the investigator to be more efficient as well.
Okay, so the next question is about retail investor growth. The US has experienced strong growth in retail investing in recent years. What factors have driven this trend?
Yeah, so actually in the US, retail is kind of coming from two different spaces. There's domestic and there's international. So one thing that's really driving retail trading in America is actually Asian investors wanting to buy US stocks. So we're seeing more trading in what we call after hours, which is obviously the Asian daytime. And so investors I think are attracted to US stocks because if you want to get into the artificial intelligence stocks, a lot of those companies are American companies. And actually, if you look at valuations of stocks, and when you buy a company, you're buying the future growth of earnings. And the growth of earnings right now is actually very concentrated in that AI space. There's a lot of people buying NVIDIA chips, building out data compute and data centers. And so that's where the revenue is right now. And so a lot of Asian investors have been trying to buy the US stocks, often overnight. In the US, we've also had a lot of increasing, I guess you call it democratization of trading. And so I think automation has made it possible to put trading under people's phones. They can manage their own finances. On their phone, they can buy and sell and control their own finances. And so since that's happened, we've seen an increase in trading and investing directly by US people in the US market as well.
So you are not sleeping at all.
Yeah.
Like we are like trading 24 hours, right?
We're trying to trade 24 hours, and the market is much more liquid in the US day, but there is liquidity in a lot of US stocks that's pretty close to 24 hours.
Okay, let's move to market structure challenges. What are the most pressing challenges in today's market structure, and how are global exchanges and regulators working to address them?
Yeah, and I think again there's like two ends of the spectrum on this, but global regulators are really conscious of like letting innovation happen, letting change happen, which tends to sort of segment and fragment the market, which is making the market more complicated. At the same time, when the market gets more complicated, the regulators are like, well, how do we make sure investors know what the right price is and where the best price is? And so they're trying to create what's called a consolidated tape in a lot of countries in the world. Ironically, they're kind of at odds with each other, right? Because as you innovate and segment and fragment the market, some of the quotes will be different but not available to everybody. So putting a consolidated quote together is kind of an oxymoron. It's almost like you can't put the tape together if you're going to create too much fragmentation. So I think that's a real challenge for regulators, is like trying to weigh up a public quote and transparency on public prices versus encouraging a lot of innovation and sort of developing competition.
Okay. Speaking about the data transparency and investor confidence, as markets become faster and more complex, how can better data transparency help build trust among retail investors and strengthen the brokerage industry?
Yeah, so I think one aspect of data transparency is what we just talked about, which is for an investor to know what the best price a buyer wants to pay is and what the sellers are willing to sell at, so that you trade at good prices. And anyone that goes shopping knows that's what you want to do, right? If there's a sale on somewhere, you want to go and get the cheap product. You don't want to pay too much. And so knowing stock prices when you're trading is one important thing. That's why the consolidated tape is something regulators are trying to tackle globally. But I think maybe more importantly is for investors to be able to understand the fundamentals of the companies that they're buying. So to be able to see their balance sheets and understand their cash flows and profitability is really important. And I think that's one thing which public markets do that private markets don't, right? Is they have requirements for companies to publish financial statements. That's public information, so you can do research into the growth of sales, the growth of profitability, the margins of all the different companies, compare and contrast. And so that transparency is really important for valuing stocks and for picking investments that are going to be more profitable for you in the future.
Yeah, that would be great. Okay, the last question is about future outlook. Looking ahead, what do you see as the biggest opportunities and challenges for brokers and investors in the next 5 years?
Yeah, so I think that the challenge is to get more individuals invested in stocks, and the opportunities is for those investors, when they buy stocks, stocks earn profits, they pay dividends, they grow as the economy grows, and so you can secure your financial future if you're better invested in assets that are going to grow and pay a yield or a dividend. So I think that's the big opportunity, is to get more people use this democratization, use the automation that's happened, and get more people to secure their own financial future by owning stock and equity investments.
Okay, thank you very much for joining us today. สวัสดีค่ะ
Thanks for having me.
ตลอดการสนทนาในวันนี้ค่ะเราได้เจาะลึกถึงการเปลี่ยนแปลงเชิงโครงสร้างของตลาดหุ้นค่ะที่อาจจะส่งผลต่อตลาดหุ้นทั่วโลกนะคะแล้วก็ประเทศไทยอย่างมีนัยสำคัญค่ะตั้งแต่เรื่องของเทคโนโลยีการซื้อขายที่พัฒนาอย่างรวดเร็วค่ะทำให้เราเห็นการซื้อขายที่รวดเร็วแล้วก็ลงทุนกันได้ตลอดเวลาค่ะไปจนถึงบทบาทของปัญญาประดิษฐ์หรือว่า AI ค่ะที่กำลังพลิกโฉมกลยุทธ์การลงทุนและเรื่องของการกำกับดูแลตลาดหุ้นด้วยค่ะ นอกจากนี้ค่ะเราได้เห็นการเติบโตของนักลงทุนรายย่อยในสหรัฐที่ส่วนหนึ่งนะคะก็มาจากนักลงทุนในเอเชียที่สนใจเข้ามาลงทุนในหุ้น AI ในสหรัฐค่ะและอีกส่วนหนึ่งค่ะก็มาจากนักลงทุนของสหรัฐเองค่ะที่มีการเทรดในเวลากลางวันนะคะทั้งนี้ค่ะทั้งหมดทั้งปวงค่ะก็มาจากความก้าวหน้าของเทคโนโลยีที่ช่วยอำนวยความสะดวกในการซื้อขายทำให้โลกแห่งการลงทุนนั้นไร้พรมแดนค่ะด้วยความก้าวหน้าทางเทคโนโลยีนะคะแล้วก็การเข้ามาของ AI ก็ช่วยทำให้ตลาดนั้นมีความโปร่งใสมากขึ้นแล้วก็ทำให้นักลงทุนเข้าถึงตลาดได้มากขึ้นค่ะรวมถึงเข้าถึงข้อมูลอย่างเท่าเทียมกันขณะเดียวกันค่ะก็ไม่ละเลยนะคะต่อความท้าทายด้านโครงสร้างที่ยังต้องการการปรับตัวจากทั้งฝั่งของผู้ที่กำกับดูแลและผู้ที่ให้บริการค่ะขอบคุณทุกท่านที่ติดตาม Set Face to Face ทาง Set Zoom In ค่ะวันนี้ปอมชริดาพรหมโยธีลาไปก่อนค่ะสวัสดีค่ะ